Hey everyone, welcome to this interview episode of Electronic Cafe. Mark and I have just had the fantastic fortune to talk to Erik and Jonny from the fabulous cult we know name, talking about their new album, Indifference and Dust. We've been fans of these guys forever, haven't we, mate?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe these guys are still kind of a bit of a unknown quantity. I mean, this is their 12th album, 12 albums of quality synth pop. And I mean, I know they must find it really frustrating to be referred to as the best kept secret in synth pop, because they really shouldn't be. But I mean, another great album from two great guys, and we're big fans of them.
Yeah, totally. As you said, I mean, they just got to get more exposure, because, as you know, when we did EC1 live, they were one of our acts because we wanted them to be part of it. But the amount of people coming up to us afterwards going, love this band, and fell in love with them that night. So, you know, there's obviously an appetite for this quality of music, which is why you and I started this channel, right? To get it through to people. And somehow we just got to help these guys get to that next level, because they absolutely deserve it. Not only because the music's fabulous, they're two of the nicest guys you could wish to meet, but it's just brilliant. And as you say, mate, we don't want them to be a best kept secret anymore, do we?
No, I mean, I hope this episode helps. I mean, people should dive in, check out this album, Indifference and Dust, which is a great album, which is out very soon, and also dive into their back catalogue. I mean, in this episode, they'll hear snippets of the songs and people can make their own mind up. But everyone, should we let them jump in and see what we just spoke about?
Sounds like a plan, my friend. Let's do it.
Excellent. Everybody, cult with no name. Andy, you've been on a sunbed or something? You look very tanned.
Do I? No, mate. I've been...
Is your blood pressure?
It's the blood pressure it's talking about.
Hey everyone, welcome to this fabulous little interview episode of the Electronic Cafe. We're delighted to welcome back one half of one of our favourite bands, and to welcome for the very first time the other half. Erik from Cult with No Name, welcome back, my friend, and Jonny, welcome to the EC guys. It's great to see you both. Congrats on this little beauty of an album, Indifference and Dust. Absolute belter as per usual. I think album number 12 and out on July the 25th. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, album. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, mate, I mean, look, the last album, X Until I made our top 30 in 2023. This is right up there in terms of quality. From my perspective, I think it really cements your reputation as that sort of electronic balladeer or post-punk electronic balladeer status. I mean, the quality of your music is stellar. Do you both find it easier now because you've been doing it for so long and so well practiced, or is it getting harder to maintain that standard? Quality of your work is exceptional.
Well, thank you very much, first of all. Very kind. It really is track by track, to be honest. You know, we don't really plan albums as albums. You know, we have a series of songs and we record them, and when we think they're good enough, we put them out on an album. We don't. So in that sense, it's not particularly cohesive. But yeah, so some tracks are easier than others, quite frankly.
Yeah.
There are some tracks on that album that were a bloody nightmare to finish, and there are some tracks that came together really, really quickly, and there's no logic to it. You just sometimes when you're starting an arrangement, you got to go down the wrong path, and you just, you know, you get frustrated and you have to start again. Generally speaking, it was quite a tough album just because I was a bit knackered and I was doing lots of other stuff going. I was doing purchasing a house and all this kind of stuff. It was quite stressful. Yeah, it was a bit harder to finish than X Into I. But yeah, no, it was good. Came together really well. Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference between me and John as well in terms of, you know, I not that he doesn't slave away, but John is very, very quick and instantaneous is what he does, quite deliberately, I think. We can talk about that because he wants to have an immediate feeling and have a slightly improvisational approach to like the piano parts and stuff, whereas I chip away. I'm constantly chipping away.
Pushing forward right over the edge. The hurt and they just rearrange. You hold onto the carpets and lose the thread. The months are rolling on and on. Before you know it, years have come and gone. Centuries of hope, centuries too late.
I mean, I know that you're continually writing, and you're always like posting stuff. You started a new song, and the lyrics you write are just so interesting and brilliant. But how does the process work with you and Jonny? Do you write a lyric and send it to Jonny, or do you both work on the music, or is it kind of like an Elton John, Bernie Taupin's kind of thing? You send the words over and Jonny puts music to it. I mean, what is your process, and has it ever changed over the years, or for this album?
So basically, I write the songs on guitar. When they're starting the instrumentals, John is responsible. We can talk about that in a sec. So I write the songs on guitar, which I think is interesting, and I think is a contributing factor to people saying we're a little bit unique, because obviously the keys that you write in and the melodies you might develop on guitar are very different to synths and piano. So that's quite interesting. So, and then I kind of just record it into my phone as a basic track, so capture the melody and the chords. And then the arrangement builds from there. So, I might start on some of the loops and things and the bass lines, and then it reaches a point, and I hand it over to John.
Yeah, I was going to say, just going back to the first question you asked, kind of how it happens as such. I think we've got quite a practice formula, which is almost been the same over a number of years, but we are talking, how many years have we been together now? It's sounding like a relationship, but it's been quite a long time, and it's very practice. And I think also we don't step on each other's toes. So kind of what I'm good at, Erik's not so good at, and what Erik's good at, I'm not so good at. So there's never any kind of conflict there. I think that we kind of just allow each other to do our bits that we're good at as such, if that makes sense.
And my brainwashed afraid, losing at my own game. Another day calls my triplicitous cause, and I never was afraid. Another day lost to indifference and dust, and my tears won't hide it.
Do you find it hard, Jonny? Because I mean, I'm a keyboard player. I was a keyboard player, and I think after, say, 12 or 13 albums, obviously your hands kind of hit the keyboard in a certain way that you don't want to repeat what you've done before. I mean, do you always get that inspiration from a lyric or from a track that Erik sends to you that sends you in a different direction?
It's very spontaneous, and as Erik said, deliberately so, because I think one thing I don't like is chipping away at something too much, because it kind of removes the soul, I think, out of something. And when I don't know what happens when you do something very quickly, and often when Erik sends me a part and he's got it to a certain point, I'll work very quickly, and that captures an improvisatory feel, but also gives it a bit more soul, I think, and maybe a bit more authenticity. I don't know. That's probably picking it up too much. The other thing is I have to work, and I think Erik does as well. We have to work very quickly as well. We've both got day jobs. We've both got kids. I often wonder if we were full-time and successful and doing this with loads of time, I don't know if it would be the same, actually. So I think our circumstance almost makes it how it is, and that's probably a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think it is, and I think you're right.
I'm faster, higher, stronger than this. No longer a joke when it's free to ingest. I'm bigger, wider, lither than you. My coach may be dope, but then there's no duping you. Today I'm reaching new heights. Got what it takes today, I'll take what I got till I rise.
The thing about you boys, every time I put a track on, within the first couple of seconds I get that because there's certain hooks or the notes that you put in are so catchy. I mean, they're proper earworms. I mean, Mark knows this. I think he's the same. You know, when you hear good music, you get all that fuzzy feeling on the back of your neck, and I get that with your stuff. Obviously, you guys were great on EC Live. I mean, you were one of our first acts that we did, and it was an amazing night. But what I loved was I was getting so many people coming up to me going, "I love these guys. I wish, you know, who are they?" And that's the frustrations, but also the lovely bit of these people. There's still people finding you, which is crazy after 12 albums. But I love the fact that you're still being discovered. And when I hear stuff like this, it's like, well, fucking hell, more people need to hear this, right? Which is why we've got you on, obviously. Our mutual friend, the lovely Paula Gilmer from Tiny Magnetic Pets, doing a guest vocal, works really well. I mean, Clockout, I think, is a standout track. So do you think there's potentially more collaborations in the future on Cult With No Names albums going forward?
Well, I did a track. Well, first thing, I did a track with Tiny Magnetic Pets a few years ago, which is sort of in their vaults, which, you know, I hope it comes out one day. And obviously, you know, we've known them for a long time and worked really well together, and Paula's lovely. So I really thought she'd be a good fit for that track. A couple of people have asked us that, because obviously we've been working with the likes of Kelly LE for many, many years, and she's on probably about a third of our stuff. Why she's not been on the last couple of albums, that's because Kelly's kind of basically quit music. She's an really successful artist now and brilliant at it. So we've kind of kept the guests to a minimum for the last couple of albums. But we're always up for collaboration. I've always had this thing in my head, like one day I'll do this, but I keep saying this and I never will, where we'll do an album where I don't sing any of the songs. So we have a different female, it would be a different female vocalist for each track. Is a project. I don't know why I thought that'd be a really lovely thing. It's probably because we know a lot of female, really fantastic female vocalists. But one day I'd quite like to do that. Maybe we do a fully acoustic album or something like that. But
The die is cast. The cast will soon die in a blank of your eye. Time is cold. What's the very thing they'll say that causes? 'Cause every extra hour now feels so haunted.
Eggs Into I and this album, you've got instrumental versions of these albums as well, haven't you? I think on the release of this, there will be an instrumental version of it. I mean, it'd be interesting to hear other people's interpretations of those songs, even that, just to see where they take it.
yeah, that would be great. We had this. Do you remember that guy, John, that really early on that did a cover, that got obsessed with us and did a cover version? Was going to do
When he was 15, I believe, and he's probably now in his late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, we had this guy. This is back in the days of MySpace. We had this like 15-year-old kid in America that discovered us and got really obsessed by us.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, I'm going to cover some of your songs." And I don't think he ever sent them to us, but we'd love someone to cover.
It's like the Keenan Duffy song as well.
Yeah.
Like, he when we spoke to him, he said that when he got that back, he was blown away by it, because basically it turned it into a Cult With No Name version of one of his songs. Icarus Falls, wasn't it?
Icarus Falls, that's right.
Yeah, we were pleased with that, weren't we? It came well.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Just had another remix for Keenan, actually.
How have you?
Really over the moon about. You really like that one, don't you, John? The water sport.
Yeah.
He's a lovely guy, isn't he?
Very nice bloke.
Super guy. We had him on about 5 months ago, and just a delight to talk to. Jonny, your piano, I mean, it's such a strong part of the Cult With No Name sound, but the synths you had, I mean, Mark probably knows, but I don't. But for the uninitiated, are you using, is it all software synths, or is there a bit of analog in there?
It's a bit of both, really. So it's a combination of software synths. I use a lot of samples that I twist. So I'll just find a sample on an old record or something and just twist it around a bit. I've got 2 keyboards as well, so I use sounds off that. So it's a combination of a few things. But what I tend to do is before we start an album, I'll come up with a palette of sounds, which I'll try and stick to, and then so for the next album I'll change it slightly, so that there's a danger that you make everything sound the same, but actually I think if you're using similar sounds across tracks for an album, it kind of acts as a bit of glue as well. So I will deliberately try and narrow myself down a bit.
And actually, I think that's a very important factor in Cult with a Name, because the problem is I did the tracks, if I attempted to do the tracks completely on my own, each track would sound like a completely different band. So I'm very, I always try and make every song sound completely different. And so John is kind of that cohesive glue that brings everything to give it that Cult with a Name sound.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because it gives the whole album a feel, doesn't it? Rather than a collection of songs, it makes it feel like an album.
Got some outdoor space up here, 5 floors up, 4 foot square. It's all I ever really need, plus a store 10 yards deep. 'Cause home is where the heart was, the rest just lies in state. Take my hand,
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, you kindly sent us this a couple of weeks ago. I played it the first time I played it. I was really blown away by it, and maybe it's because I know you guys, I know your songs, and I mean, you played EC live, but this collection of songs sounded a little bit more accessible and poppy. That might not be the right phrase, but I mean, that might. You know, it just seemed more like an album full of, like, you know, hit hooky songs, rather than in the past, maybe because I didn't know you so much back then, but it seemed more an accessible album. I mean, I know you write all the time, so that's probably not the case because you have a collection of songs, but it just seemed that you was really in your flow, and it's a really accessible collection of songs.
So it's really interesting to hear. It's not deliberate. There's nothing really deliberate about that. The one thing we did I did reflect on in sort of halfway through making the album, it's a slightly slower paced album, I'd say, than X into I, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, you haven't got a track like Snake Oils on it, which is obviously quite a commercial sort of song, although I guess Clock Out is. So, yeah, but, you know, none of that's really deliberate, if I'm honest. The only sort of deliberate things we did with this album is made sure there was one vocal and piano track. That's always nice to include.
Yeah.
And then also making sure there was an instrumental on there, because we didn't do an instrument last 2 albums before that, although there were no instrumentals, and so obviously John does those.
Yeah.
And I know, John, you deliberately didn't put any piano on that track, quite interestingly. So when Free Reign, you didn't actually use any piano.
Which is unusual, isn't it? Really, we usually use a lot more piano. But no, I don't think it was. Erik, you speak more to that, to the initial writing, but it's definitely not a deliberate thing for us to say we're going to go out and write much catchier songs. I've always thought that Erik's style and his just his melodies and stuff are always very. It's one thing people have always said to me, very catchy.
Oh, yeah.
Mark, there's always a lot of earworms in Erik's melodies. So maybe they're jumping out more in this album. I don't know.
It might be the familiarity that I know your sound. I know you guys, but I mean, it just seemed like a really accessible commercial release, and, like, you know, I love it for that. It's just brilliant.
'Cause love gets lost, replaced by Holocaust, but beneath them crawling out. When you see it's hate alone,
and for people who don't know you, which again, me and Mark go, how the fuck is that a thing? But yeah, to discover you via this is no bad thing, because it is, as Mark says, it's so accessible. I can see more and more people falling in love with what you're doing.
Get this one and dive into the back catalogue. I mean, there's some amazing albums there.
Lost.
Yeah, and, you know, one of the nice things, I mean, all bands say this, you know, the last album is their best album, blah, blah, blah. But I think with Cult with a Name, you can generally plot a trajectory of us getting better over time. I don't think anyone would say our first album is our best album, and we're not embarrassed by it, but we know our first album is not particularly re-recorded. We'd definitely do it very differently now. That kind of, with some bands, you know, that debut album is amazing and everything afterwards is just a little bit worse. I'm not saying that Indifference and Dust is our best album, but I think generally speaking, over time, our stuff has got better.
In that vein, though, would you ever go back to your earlier albums and pick out your favourite songs which you didn't think were done justice, and to do a kind of compilation that is kind of remixed and just tweaked, and you put out your favourite songs?
I would definitely. Well, a lot of people ask us if to remix us. Actually, I get asked quite a lot. Oh, we'd love to do a remix. Love to. So, a remix album might be something, but other people doing the remixes might be something one day. I think it has crossed my mind, particularly that first album, Paper Raps Rock, whether we would one day completely re-record it and do completely new arrangements for it. Would be certainly something interesting to do.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. This comes back down to tinkering with songs a bit, that I think that you write a song and you let it go into the wild, so to speak. I'm always very reticent to, so I've written with other people who tinker much more, and I find it very frustrating, actually. And it is tempting to do that, because you're right, there are some of the songs on the first album are standalone are, I think, really good songs, but I'd be hesitant to redo them.
My fingers on the pulse while your thumb rests on the latch. You're never looking down, but then I'm not looking back. We've all gone to ground, and you found yourself all out but alone, too far from home. Do as we see, not as we
I said earlier, your piano sounds really distinct. Are you self-taught or classically trained, or?
I'm classically trained from quite a young age, and I did all the grades, did kind of through to grade 8 and everything like that, and studied music, but got very bored with classical music. And the other thing that I struggled with, I've got quite small hands. You can't see properly there, so a lot of classical pieces, you have to reach ninths and tenths, and my hands aren't big enough to do it. So I found that I ended up struggling a lot. Well, I had the technique, but I couldn't play, the Chopins and the Liszts and stuff. So I naturally thought, I'm getting quite frustrated with this. My style, because of the size of my hands, is quite closed. I play quite kind of close notes. So I play lots of sevenths and seconds and that, close chords. So yes, I am trained, and I do pick that kind of classical approach. It's definitely in my playing. Yeah,
definitely is part of the distinctive sound.
Also, I think, John, that your upbringing in terms of schooling, the kind of Catholic influence and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, you're right, Erik. So I listen to a lot of classical music as well, and I went to, my schooling was quite strange. I went to a very odd monastic boarding school when I was 9-10 years old, and it was very unmusical. The school, it was a sort of rugby playing kind of. In fact, I think I was I was one of 3 kids that did GCSE music, and the only one that did A level. But my only refuge, I think, in that school was going to, it had this beautiful church, and they were always kind of sacred music in there and that kind of stuff. And I think that really gave me more of a love of classical music and sacred music. And so we definitely use that approach, don't we, in some of the songs, I think.
You can hear it.
You'll never see me flinch. You'll never see me give more than an inch. Here come 2 40 volts as we all hit the deck. 1 foot around, breaking neck.
So where did the name Indifference and Dust come from?
It was just this is me, talking about tinkering over. I overanalyze everything. So obviously it was a song. I wrote the song Indifference and Dust.
Yeah.
And I remember when I posted it up, I do that thing where I post up the lyrics and stuff, and a couple of people said, "Oh, it's a great title, great love song." And I thought, "Oh, okay." We hadn't actually we haven't had a title track on an album for quite some time. I think the last one was Air of the Dog, which was a little instrumental, and before that Adrenaline, where we had a title. So I wanted to do an album that had a title track. So it was really just looking down the tracks, what would make a good title track. And I thought, Indifference and Dust sounds good. Kind of sums up the state of the world, really, isn't it? And so that's why really it just lent itself best as a title track for the album.
And Erik, you're always sharing new music out there as well. Anything new, our listeners, that's got yours, or Jonny, you saying to you, anything that's making your ears happy right now?
I really like a band called, and they've not done something for a year or two. There's a band called I Like Trains, who actually often people say we sound a bit like them.
Right.
But I don't know if you've heard of them.
I saw them supported Embrace at Shepherd's Bush, and I've got one of their albums on the back of that. I think I posted about it on the EC. There's one of the tracks that's got like a sequence thing to start with that's very electronic.
Good. Yeah, no, I like them. Erik, I don't know about you, but
the problem with me is I only buy, because I'm a record collector, I only buy old stuff. I've got this massive Discogs wants list.
What new old stuff has made you happy, mate?
Well, I'll show you what I got yesterday.
Oh, go on then.
Which is going to be listening to quite a lot. I'm very, very. Don't get me started. This is a whole other episode, mate. I'm very, very into Australian post-punk music, and particularly post-punk electronic music. There's a massive scene. This is not particularly electronic, but it's called Tales from the Australian Underground, singles 1976 to 1989. And I think it's one of the some of the Australian music from that time, sort of 78 to 82, is some of the most overlooked and underrated music. And the electronic stuff within that, there's loads. I could do a whole episode on that. Maybe I'll do a playlist one day. So I'm always buying old stuff.
It's a bit of fun. We've asked Erik before, but we'll ask him again because it's probably changed. What's your Desert Island disc, guys? Starting with Jonny.
Oh, with the one Desert Island disc.
Yeah. What album would you take if you were stranded on a desert island?
Okay, so I'm going to go a bit arty here. I go with. So have you heard of Arvo Pärt?
No.
He's a kind of minimal, still alive, an Estonian composer, but does the most incredible kind of minimalist piano music. I would say very kind of quite ambient, really. Nice. He has an album called Spiegel im Spiegel. I'm not sure I've said that right, but I recommend you check it out because it's the most beautiful piano music, and that I'd need that just to kind of chill me out, and I like it. It's great.
We'll be investigating that, won't we, Mark?
Stuff, Mr. Stein.
That's very hard. I'm not. Because I listen to Desert Island discs, so I often do that in my head. But obviously, I do it based on songs or the albums. I'd find it very hard to choose one. But a song, I can do a song, which is a song you guys will probably know, "Reinita" by La Düsseldorf, from the album Viva.
Yeah, I've got the album.
Which is on side one of Viva. Which
I think you might have said that album when we asked you before.
I did, just because it has, as well as I love the album, it's part of my DNA. In terms of my dad used to play it when we used to drive. He had a tape of driving music, and bizarrely enough, given that his other taste was it's the Rolling Stones, he had this album and he used to play it in the car, and it just really reminds me of driving along European motorways, and it has that motoric beat that classical generated, and it just very evocative track. So Reinita, it's definitely would be up there as a quite possible desert island.
You finally found a bigger home. Soon the stars are calling, but the sky is bearing down.
Just quickly before we wrap up, guys, any live dates on the horizon?
And we need to get moving with this in terms of probably announcing it properly. We are doing a gig with our good friends Fiat Lux.
Oh, nice.
Lux.
Yeah.
I've got to know over the last couple of years, and they're really big fans of ours, and we really like what they do. So we're doing a gig in Bradford in this church, beautiful setting, and Bradford City of Culture as well this year. And that's on September the 27th. It was going to be, I did put out a date a couple of months ago, but the date's changed. September the 27th in Bradford. I think it's called St Clement's Church, but we have to finalise the publicity and the ticket link and stuff. But that's going to be a really lovely.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. And look, we absolutely love this. For everyone on the Electronic Cafe, if you haven't pre-ordered this, I promise you, Mark and I will give this a guarantee. You will make your ears so happy. It's a fantastic piece of work, guys. And look, we love talking to you. We love what you're doing. You know, let's just keep talking and to say big congrats on this. It's fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, I had to follow that up as well. I think it's one for me. I think it's one of the strongest things you've done. I really do think it's a great album. That's just not me saying that just because I'm speaking to you. I genuinely think that you guys have really found your power.
Thank you to you both, because your support means a lot. Really,
it's great to see how the Electronic Cafe's grown as well.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Look, it's a pleasure. It's no Arctic Rust. We just love your music, and we just want more people to know about you because you totally deserve it. So, I say, fabulous piece of work, as Mark says, and it's one of our favourite albums of 2025 so far. So, yeah, love it, mate. Any chance of vinyl? We'll edit this bit out.
Yeah.
If you ever do decide, let us know. Me and Mark will be your first 2 customers.
Very much.
That's 2 copies sold at least.
Yeah,
That makes it worthwhile, doesn't it? If you order 500 copies, you know you've sold 2.
Yeah,
that's the start.
Exactly. Start somewhere. But no, guys, listen, thank you so much. Absolute joy to see you both. Jonny, glad you came on, mate, and it's great to see you.
All right.
You guys have a good weekend. See you later.
Cheers, Erik. Cheers, Jonny.
take care.
Bye, Angie.
Bye. Bye.
Faith in the oceans, faith not belief, faith that the answer's underneath.